Strategy execution is one of the most critical factors that many organizations fail at. We set up our strategies but do not do a good job of ensuring effective execution. We now turn our attention to Business 2.0, strategy execution. We've had the introduction and got to appreciate how we can conceive our own strategies. We've gone through the theories that have informed strategy formulation. We've looked into the thinking that guides and governs strategy formulation. Now let's look into the execution hereof. After serving for a period as a business consultant to Dell Computers, Kevin Rollins was appointed as CEO. He made a clear recognition that when you look at companies that really do well in the business space, they don't only have great strategies, they also have maniacal implementers. A good strategy not implemented is not worth the paper it's written on. A bad strategy, well implemented, will outstrip a fabulous strategy not implemented. We've come to understand that strategy does not execute itself, nor does it operate in isolation. For strategy to be executed, two other parts become critical. The way in which we have set up operations will play a big part into the level of execution of strategy. And most important would be the people. How we select the people who work on the basis of the strategy we have, how we place them is extremely vital. We want to be able to have people who have a sense of ownership of the strategy so that it does not remain as an entrepreneur's thing, nor a C-suite factor that is only owned and understood by the senior leadership of the organization. We have come to appreciate that many strategies fail because 7 key factors are not being paid attention to. There is lack of clarity around what the strategy is that is being pursued. There is no commitment demonstrated by senior leadership to the actual delivery of the strategy. And not enough work is put into the translation of the strategy into day-to-day work. We then find that strategy execution is hampered by people not being afforded the resources they need to get the job done. And maintaining silos mean that there is no collaboration or synergy which affords the opportunity, which would afford the opportunity to achieve greater results than highly competent individuals doing the work. A critical area in which strategy execution really collapses is the area of accountability. Many a leader will find it easy to be able to allocate responsibility, but not so clear about who takes final accountability for performance or non-performance. And finally, it is critical to always consider that for every choice we make, there is a consequence. Now, there are positive consequences and negative consequences. If these are thought about and discussed upfront, strategy execution is going to be easy. And therefore, the management of strategy with these 7 factors will ensure that we can arrive at excellent execution. In execution, the discipline of getting things done, Larry Bossidy and Ram Charan make it very clear that the three factors of strategy, operations, and people need to be pulled together. So when you're looking at a strategy process, always be linking people with operations. When you're in charge of operations, be checking how do my operations link with organizational strategy and the people that serve here. And if your task is that of overlooking and overseeing people performance, gotta be able to ask, are the people still dealing with matters that are strategic to the organization or doing things that anybody else could do? Finally, you gotta be able to look into how do the people interact with the operations of the organization. Strategy execution challenges us to develop a discipline of getting the most important things done and not waste our time measuring on minors. As we seek to operationalize our strategy, we want to be able to create a synchronicity between the external environment and the organization's capability and capacity to execute. We want to be able to make sound assumptions around what's happening in the market out there and the people inside the organization. Develop an operating plan and make some trade-offs. Sometimes it is necessary to be able to delay a certain aspect of the strategy and execute it much later. Follow through is going to be extremely critical if the organization is to be able to realize the goals that have been set and the strategy that has been formulated. And of course, plan A, plan B, and sometimes plan C is necessary to ensure that the strategy is operationalized to the benefit not only of the ones who craft the strategy, but more importantly, the customer who has been made a promise that we are the best ones to deliver what they're looking for. Together with Sean Covey and Jim Helling, Chris McChesney formulated 4 disciplines of execution. And there is a video that we've already directed you to for you to have an appreciation of what needs to be put in place for strategy to be executed very, very well. So the remainder of this process is about implementation of the 4 disciplines of execution. Essentially, due to the limitations of our time, we're going to pay attention to the first 2 disciplines. Discipline 1 is focusing on the wildly important. This is where extreme focus needs to be. The second discipline is about acting on lead measures. In that area, what we're really seeking to be able to do is to identify activities which, when implemented, guarantee the delivery of the goals. And then the back of that is keeping a compelling scoreboard, not a scorecard. Why is this necessary? Because everyone who is working, if they can see whether they're winning or losing, they are able to adjust their performance accordingly. The final discipline is one of creating a rhythm of accountability where people come together and commit to be able to do things that will move the dial, shift things towards the delivery, final delivery with excellence of the goal that has been set. Strategy without a clear focus on what is widely important will translate in us being busy being busy. When we are clear and we have a peg put down indicating what victory will look like, we are able to articulate that. So here is an example. If you are part of the Corteva cycling team sponsored by MTN winning the Tour de France is one very clear, wildly important goal. Many of the athletes who went through to Tokyo had to, first and foremost, qualify. Having qualified, they become Olympians. But a critical thing is to be able to say, I will return with a bronze medal, I will return with a silver medal, I will return with a gold medal and a world record. These are the things that we have come to appreciate from athletes. The same can be applied in the world of business. Working on the wildly important goal will require that you determine for yourself where your energies are going to be applied. The inner circle are those things you can influence, things you have control over. So you want to be able to set for yourself a goal that is achievable, but also a stretch goal that you can influence. And then, if your attention is into that, you are going to be able to stress less about things that are out of your reach altogether. Using the example that is on your screen right now, you may be able to work out for yourself what your wildly important goals are going to be with a clear lead measure. The example that we've got right here is one where we're looking at growing revenues for the organization by $4 million in the financial year. How does that come about? Now, you've got a business goal, and then you've got divisional goals. The sales team says they will create 2 million new sales revenue this year. And then you look at measure accounts. They say, no, they will grow measure accounts revenue by an additional 2 million. So in that process, you have the 4 million that you're looking for. The IT team, on the other hand, comes through and says, what we will do to support the goal is to maintain a stable platform with zero downtime. That is something that makes it clear to all and sundry that the goal is going to be achieved. Using this, I ask you now to be able to determine for yourself what is the wildly important goal you're setting for yourself. Put this on your discussion board and prepare it with the preparedness to engage with others so that they can add value to it and you can work with it further as well. Philosopher Jim Rohn challenges us to be able to understand that we will need to suffer from one of two pains, a pain of discipline or a pain of regrets. I would like to believe that having formulated strategy, you would not want to regret having lost the time of strategy implementation because you were busy chasing the small factors that really have absolutely no value at all. Strategy execution requires people who feel a sense of affinity with the strategy and operate in an environment where systems and processes have been played and laid out for them to be able to take advantage of so as to execute. In order to be able to go much further, you need a leadership pipeline that is filled with people who are constantly looking for ways of improvement, which the Japanese call Kaizen, and you've got sufficient depth so that if somebody goes or, God forbid, they pass on, there is continuity inside the organization. But you also want to be able to make sure that you do not suffer for talent flight because people are enticed to go somewhere else while the strategy is midstream. One of the key ways to be able to make sure that strategy execution becomes part of the culture of the organization is to deal with non-performers. Too often, organizations do not reach the potential they're capable of by virtue of not dealing with non-performers. We talk consequence management, but do not implement consequence management. Performance management needs to be able to link all of the human resources practices to achievement of business results. When that is done, you're bound to be a talent magnet. You're bound to have people who will want to stay with your organization long term. When we've set our goals and we're very clear about them, we call that wildly important goal. And if it has a leg measure that also demonstrates progress from X to Y, we know we have something that is measurable. Having got that, now needs to be able to take us to the identification of lead measures that guarantee the delivery of the wildly important goal. In the example shared earlier of the internet services company growing its revenue by a whole 4 million, we have come to appreciate that we will have at least 3 departments playing a clear part to executing key actions that will deliver the goal. But let's just zone in on the sales team as an example, and you can translate that into your own agri-business. To be able to get the 2 million, that's contribution towards the achievement of the 4 million total financial year revenue growth, 3 key lead measures were agreed to. One was to be able to sign contracts with 3 qualified partner sellers within the quarter. That is, we have the sellers, we have them as people who understand what needs to be done, so we can be assured and we'll allocate the necessary amount to each one of the 3 so that the 2 million is realizable. We're also looking to ensuring that outbound calls are with qualified leads that are increasing from 200 leads to 250 per week, which then means that by the end of the month, we will have had a whole 1,000 qualified leads spoken to. And finally, you're looking to increasing the follow-up of the referral calls, because we might be getting good referrals, but we just write them down and not take action. Here, the example is one that says we'll grow that number from 6 to 8 per week, which effectively means we are ensuring that in the 5 days we have, we will have at least a follow-up of 1 to 2 people per day. That enables us to be able to say we can influence the contract signing, we can influence outbound goals, and we can influence the follow-ups. Using the internet company as an example to draw from, you can now determine lead measures for your self-selected, wildly important goals. Chris McChesney has explained the process, and I encourage you to be able to take time to truly look into not only the lag measures, which are after the effects, but the lead measures which you can influence, you can do something about on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. When that is in place, you will then be able to set up a scoreboard which will guide the performance of yourself and your colleagues, and you will close off that process by institutionalizing a weekly review process. That weekly review process will create a sense of accountability among your colleagues. That is what we're about, and I encourage you to give it your best. So, borrowing from Ralph Waldo Emerson, I want to close off our time together in terms of strategic management by pointing to success simply being the ability to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better. And in the agribusiness, you definitely can do that. And to know even one life has breathed easier because you've lived and your agribusiness has contributed to their life being extended. This is to have succeeded. It's been an honor and a pleasure for me to be able to share these lessons on what strategic management is all about, formulating the strategy and executing the strategy. I challenge you to take time to review the work you've done up until now, see the successes you have made and the challenges that may still be there. Work on all so that in the end, excellence becomes a habit and you surround yourself with people who love to deliver excellent results so that your business can contribute to the excellence of the sector and the excellence of the country. All the best.